Alright kids, come over here real quick and let me show you something cool. You want to learn some budget anatomy? Of course you do. So, welcome to the right place. Alright, let's get started. So there's 3 sections of the spine. Well, technically 5, because there's the sacrum and the coccyx, but they're fused together, so they're essentially 4. But there's 3 main sections, and they are the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar. You're probably wondering why I'm throwing all these syllables at you. Well, it started a month ago. I just finished the second section of my anatomy course, which is the bones of the torso. They include the spine, the pelvis, the ribcage, and the scapula. If you're thinking, golly, he's smart, no, I'm still the small brain raccoon that you're mutually aware of. On a side note, if you're interested in wanting to learn or invested in watching me learn, I could make this into a series. I could break down anatomy for you so you don't have to learn it by yourself. By the way, this is free. All you have to do is let me know that you want this. The reason why I'm asking is because it's very time consuming. So if the video gets about like 10 likes or 5 different comments, I will make a video on how to draw the pelvis within the next 2 weeks. With that being said, let's get back on topic. Let me show you the proportions of the spine. So think about the spine as 4 units. Whoa, hang on, I don't understand mass. I don't either, so let's think about it like this. You have 4 bottles, and the spine has to be equal to those 4 bottles. Well, the top section of the spine is the cervical. It is 3/4 of a bottle. The midsection of the spine is the thoracic. It is exactly 2 bottles. The bottom section is the lumbar. It is 1 1/4 added together, and that's 4 bottles, or 4 units. And the sacrum is 2/3 of the lumbar. To simplify, the cervical is less than 1, the thoracic is exactly 2, the lumbar is slightly more than 1. Let's draw the spine. So measure out the units and then mark the start and end of each section. The cervical, which is the top part of the spine, curves the least. The thoracic will always curve with the ribcage, while the lumbar curves away from the body, and the sacrum will always curve back into the body. Now pay attention to the thickness of each section. Since the lumbar is on the bottom of the spine, it has to support the rest of the vertebrae, so it is the thickest compared to the cervical, which only has to support the cephalic/cranium, or as you know it, the head, so it isn't as thick. So this is how to draw the spine in a neutral position. It's going to look different in different angles. For example, if you look at it from a back or front view, you're not going to see the curves. So keep that in mind when you're drawing from reference. Speaking of which, it's time to show you how to do that. And what you're doing is, you're trying to draw the spine without actually seeing it. I'm not going to lie, it's kinda hard, but once you start seeing it, it's like having x-ray vision. So before we continue, you can pause the video, take a screen grab, try it, come back, and see the answers. So get your reference, the more risque, the better. It is easier to see the landmarks. I'm using these references so I don't get rinsed by the YouTube Rambas, but you don't have to worry about that. So to help you with this exercise, do some trace overs. This will help you understand where the spine is placed. Once you're comfortable that you know, do some freehand drawings. So this is what I do personally when I have no idea what I'm looking at. I do this because knowing how to draw the shape is different from actually drawing the shape. I know that sounded a bit simple, but you don't really think about it if it's not mentioned, so I thought I'd give you a wee reminder. So this is me demonstrating a trace over, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at where the spine is positioned in this pose. After I figure that out, I then look for the 3 main sections of the spine, the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar, where they begin and end. Once I'm happy with the shape, I decide to draw it freehand. Generally, you want to draw the biggest idea first, which will be the ribcage, the spine, and then the pelvis. Since I haven't shown you how to draw either or, we'll use simple shapes. For the ribcage, you could draw an egg shape. For the pelvis, you could draw a simple bucket or a cylinder. Either is fine. So you can see I'm drawing the thoracic, and I'm curving it with the ribcage. Why did I start with the thoracic first? Well, I have extra knowledge. The thoracic and ribs start and end at the same time. Because you have 12 pairs of ribs, you also have 12 thoracic vertebrae. In total, you have 24 spinal vertebrae, 7 are in the cervical, and the remaining 5 are in the lumbar. You don't really need to know it, but it's good to familiarize yourself with it because once you know how to talk about it, it'll be easier to visualize and draw. So I drew the lumbar a bit too short. It should cut into the ribs a bit more. The lumbar should be 1 and a bit, but it looks like it's just less than 1, which isn't right. That just shows if you don't get it the first time, that's alright. It's not easy. If it were, I would not have gotten it incorrect. Actually, that's debatable. So what I'm going to do now, since I am from the future, is I am going to remind you to draw the sacrum, because I forgot. It's just a triangle. The reason why I forgot is because, even though it's still part of the spine, I associate it with more of the pelvis, so I'd draw them together instead. Fun fact, I'm also in the past, because by the time you hear this, I'll either be eating, sleeping, or studying muscles. So with that being said, I'm so excited for this part. It's been lovely. I hope we could do this again. But for now, I want to be antisocial. Bye!